Okay, today I want to talk about self-signed certificates. These are secure socket layer certificates issued by a certificate authority to a web browser upon request, and allows the web browser to access a secure website, an HTTPS as opposed to an HTTP website. And you're going to see in this particular demonstration that although you can create what's called a self-signed certificate on the CA, and in this case the CA is a Windows Server 2008 standard platform, it's not trusted by anybody else. It's only trusted by you because you know you created it. So I've done a little preliminary work here. I've already taken a Windows Server 2008 standard machine as a VM, and I have created a certificate authority from that Windows Server. And to show that, I'm going to click on the Start button here. And let's go to Administrative Tools, and you can see that the Certificate Authority is one of those tools. And here is the Cert Authority CA-ZZZ that I created. Those are the folders. All right, so we don't need to do that. And also what I did was I renamed this server Cert Authority, CertAuth. That's important because if you use the default name on the Windows Server 2008 platform, once you create it as a role, giving it the role of certificate authority to issue certificates to clients on the network, you will not be able to change that server's name. That's very important because that's how part of the trust relationship exists. All right, so you need to make sure you do that in advance of setting up your server as a certificate authority. All right, so we have the certificate authority set up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two websites. I'm going to have one of them as a standard website, and then another one as a secure website, and I'm going to demonstrate how you can utilize a self-signed certificate to access that website, and what happens when you do that. So what I need to do here, I'm running IIS 7. And I want to set up some container folders on the server itself, and also some user accounts so that I can access the information when I create these websites in IIS Server Manager. So the first thing I'm going to do is right-click on the computer and manage and create two user accounts here on the server. So I'm going to go down to the configuration area, expand it, and this is a local standalone server. It's not connected to a domain, so I can go down to local users and groups and users, and you can see the accounts I have in there already. I want to create one new user called Orville. Okay, Orville, and we'll give him the password of capital PA55W0RD. And let's not force him to change his password on logon. So let's create that one. And now let's create a new one called Lester. And let's give Lester the same password, capital PA55W0RD. And uncheck the box here so he doesn't have to do that as well. And create that, and let's close. So now we have Lester and Orville here as two users on this server. Let me close this, and now let me go back out and we create those two container folders. Let's go to C drive, inetpub, FTP root, local user, and I'm going to create two new folders, one called Orville, and create another folder called Lester. Alright, and now that I've created those folders, in case I wanted to FTP up to them, because I have FTP services 7.5 installed as well on this server, I want to give full control permissions to Lester for Lester's folder. So let me right-click in Properties and click on the Security tab, and you can see Lester does not have access to Lester's folder. So let me edit that and add, and let me type in Lester. And the system should find Lester, and does. Let me give full control permissions NTFS to Lester's folder, for Lester's folder. Let me do the same for Orville. And let me give him full control permissions to his folder. Alright, so now I've given NTFS full control permissions to both users here. So let me close that and go back out to the Information Services, the Internet Information Services Manager. Let me right click and open that. And now that I'm in this manager interface, you can see here's the web server itself. It's called CertAuth. Let me expand that. And let me go down to Sites and expand that. Now I have a default website here, and if I click on it, I actually click on Sites and look at the default here. Let me select it and select Bindings. Scroll down and highlight the HTTP protocol and edit that so you can see that. On the default website, we have bound HTTP protocol, the hypertext transfer protocol, to all unassigned IP addresses port 80, which means that it will respond to any IP address internally, or coming into rather the server on that port if accessed from a remote site or a remote machine on a web browser. So we have that set up already. Okay, what I want to do next is I want to create the first website. So I'm going to go up to Sites. I'm going to right click here and add website. I'm going to set up the ZZZ Orville website. So I'm going to type in ZZZ Orville. And the physical path to the website is going to be the container folder for Orville. So it's C drive, inet pub, FTP root, local user, Orville. And I am binding the HTTP, because this is a standard website, to the IP address of the server itself, port 80. So if I go out to an external machine, which I'll go out here in a moment and show you, and type in http:// the IP address of the server, and I don't need to put the port name on it, it will resolve to that. But I want to create a host header here, so I want to type in www.zzorville.com as the host name for that site, so I don't have to use the IP address. Alright, so I'm going to click OK and create that website. And it's created, but it's not running right now, so let me highlight it and restart it. Alright, so it is running. It's up and running now. So I want to go out to a local machine that I have on the network, which is my Windows 7 client, Windows 7 Ultimate, and I want to fire up a Mozilla Firefox web browser and prove that the website is functioning properly. However, I think I forgot something, so let me go back to the server. And I did forget one thing I needed to do real quick here, and that is I need to go in and open this interface again. I forgot to put websites in the folders themselves. So inet pub, FTP root, local user, Lester, and let me click on new, text document, type in index.html. And I have hiding of extensions turned off here. Alright, and let me create that initial HTML page. Let me go ahead and open it. I'll open it with Notepad. And let me create a quick website. And this is Lester's. Okay, now I've got it created, I'm going to copy that information. And let me go ahead and save this file. Alright, now let's go back out to local user to Orville's, and let me right click and create a new website for Orville. This will be his index.html. Okay, and if I hadn't created these, if you tried to access that website, it would have given me a 404 page not found. Alright, so let me right click here and open with Notepad, and let me copy or paste the information rather in there and change this to Orville's website, And I'm doing this so I'll know if I hit the correct site or not. Let me go ahead and save this website. Okay, and close this interface. Now there's one other thing I need to do as well, and that's go out to the client machine again. And since we don't have the DNS rather worldwide recognizing www.zzorval.com or Leicester, I'm going to need to append the host file here in the Windows 7 Ultimate machine with the DNS information, so that when I go to hit it, it will resolve the IP address of the host name to an IP address, and we'll be able to find the site out on the server. So let me click on the Start button here and issue a command. Right click and run as administrator, and get into a command prompt with administrative privileges. And let me change the directory to drivers, etc. And now I want to open up with Notepad the host file so I can update it. Alright, so what I need to do is go to the end of the file. I need to put in the IP address of the web server. I know it to be 192.168.1.175, and then I need to add www.zzorval.com. Let me copy that, and we create a secondary DNS entry for Leicester, and so let me change that to zzzleicester.com. Okay, now that I've got those two in there, same IP address, I'm going to go ahead and save the file and exit this interface. Alright, so now I'm ready to test www.zzorval.com. It should hit it, so let me go ahead and type in http www.zzorval.com, and now I've hit this is Orval's website. So I'm able to get to Orval's website, which is a standard website here on the server from the client on the network. Okay, now that we've got that working, what I want to do is do something a little more complicated. I want to create a new website, and I want to apply SSL encryption and using a self-signed certificate to do that on that website, and then access it back here again. So let me go back to the server, and let me, we're in the server manager here, so let's go to the web server itself and click on that. And in this interface here, this is the CertAuth home, there is an icon called Server Certificates. So if I double click it, that takes me into the interface here for Server Certificates. And if I look over in the Actions column here, there is a Create Self-Signed Certificate. I'm going to click on that, and it brings up this Specify Friendly Name. So I want to give this self-signed certificate a friendly name. I want to call it cert _1. Okay, and then I want to click OK here. And what's happening is the server is actually creating a key pair, encrypted key pair, a private and a public key, and assigning it to the certificate called cert1, signed by the server. So if I go in here and I double click on the certificate, I can open it up, and you can see that there's information about this certificate in here. It says that it was issued to CertAuth by the server, and it was valid from 9/20/2014 to 9/10/2015. And then it tells me that you have a private key that it corresponds to the certificate, and that private key is actually residing on the server itself. Now, if I click on the Details tab here, it gives me a little more information about this particular certificate, and one of the things I want to look at is the public key itself. If I click on it, it's a key that was generated using RSA encryption 2048-bit, so that's pretty secure cryptography there being applied to this self-signed certificate. And it gives me other information about the serial number, the algorithm that was used to hash the actual encryption to create the digest, and then there's information about the validity of the certificate, etc., etc. Here's the fingerprint, or what's called the thumbprint here of the of the signature itself, or the certificate itself rather, and then here is the friendly name that was applied to it. Okay. All right, so now that we've generated a self-signed certificate, we want to go ahead and utilize it for the secure website that we're creating. So I'm going to go back here into this interface, and I want to click on the Sites folder, and we just have the Orville folder here now. So I want to right-click here and add a new website. This time I want to create the site called zzzlester.com, and I want to drill down into the container folder for that particular site, and that's inetpub ftp root local user Lester. And this time it's going to be a secure site, not an HTTP, but we're going to down arrow and select the HTTPS. We're going to leave the IP address all unassigned, and you'll notice that the port number here changed from port 80 to port 443. That's what we expect it to do, because port 80 is only for non-secure sites. Port 443 is for secure. Now, you'll notice when we went out on the client and accessed the Orville website, we didn't have to worry about the firewall, because port 80 was opened by default by the firewall on this server when IIS was installed. You might be asking yourself, now that we have a different port assignment here, 443, do we need to go back out to the firewall, and do we need to open that port to allow traffic to and from that if a request comes in for the secure website that we're setting up? And the answer to that question is unbelievably not. No, we don't. We don't have to, because in this particular case, when we bind a secure website using the HTTPS, the server realizes that we are accessing that port and automatically does that for us, and I'll show you that in a moment. Let's select here as the SSL certificate to be used the self-signed certificate we just created. So we're selecting Cert 1, and let's go ahead and click OK. And now we have created that site. Let me highlight it and click on Bindings, and then select it and then Edit, and you can see here that we are binding the HTTPS protocol to all unassigned IP addresses, port 443, using this certificate. So we have accomplished that. Let me go ahead and close that. And now let's go out and look at the firewall. So if I click on the Start button and go to Control Panel and double click on the Windows Firewall, we're going to click on the Allow a program through the Windows Firewall just to see if we have port 443 open. Okay, so if you look at this interface, here are the exceptions to the firewall, because the firewall is closed for most everything, and we need to create a hole through there if we need to. Let's scroll down, and you'll notice that there's already a checkbox that says Secure World Wide Web Services HTTPS, and there's a check mark in it. Even though it doesn't say port 443, that's what it's referring to. So that means that any secure websites on this server being accessed, the firewall rather is already open for it. So we don't need to do anything here. So let me go ahead and close this. All right, and I will, at this point, I believe I can go out now and access the website. So let me get back out on the server. And I just remembered one thing I forgot to do, so I'm going to go back out on the server. And one of the things that I forgot to do here is, let me go up to the server itself. And what I want to do here is select the secure site that we created. And this is the ZZZ Lester home. There's an SSL Settings icon here, so I need to double click on it. What I need to tell the server to do is require secure socket layer encryption for this particular site. That's something I forgot to do before I test it, and I'm going to apply those settings here. All right, so now I can go back out to my client machine, and I'm using Mozilla Firefox here, and so let me pull up another tab. Let me type in, first of all, let me type in http://www.zzzlester.com and see what happens. Since this is a secure website, you can see that it didn't go to the Lester website, and the reason for that is because the server that is supporting IIS 7 for websites as the web server didn't recognize the secure site or the non-secure site being zzzlester.com, and so what it did was it defaulted to the default website, which is this one here on the server. Okay, so that is normal. That was to be expected. In fact, that's a good thing. So let me go out and click on the third tab here, and let me type in https://www.zzzlester.com, and let's bring that up. And what I get here is an immediate message on the screen that says this connection's untrusted, and this is what I was referring to initially in my video here, is that even though we're creating a self-signed certificate, it's not really trusted by anyone in the world. So it's a third-party CA, in other words, has not signed the certificate, has not vouched towards authenticity, etc., etc. So in this particular case, we created that self-signed certificate, so we know it to be trusted. And so we could, in fact, say, I understand the risks, and then create that as an exception here in the browser. And then the web browser would download and import that certificate into its CA certificate store, and then in the future we wouldn't get this message. But let's take a look at the information about this connection here. It just says it's untrusted, and it says you've asked Firewall to connect securely to this website, and it can't confirm that the connection is secure. And it also lets us know that this is a self-signed certificate. If I click on technical details, it does tell me the certificate's not trusted because it's self-signed, and that's okay in this case, but it does also tell us that the certificate's only valid on this server. So we're actually accessing the website on this server from another client machine out on the network, so we know it to be trusted, and so in the future we would know that this is okay to utilize in accessing it. So this has been a video that demonstrates how to create a self-signed certificate on a Windows Server 2008 server set up as a certificate authority, and then accessing that secure website from a remote machine, connecting to that website using secure sockets layer encryption.